Hi, this is going to be a good experiment for me, for you too. I'm doing this this is the first time on this channel using my iPhone with a special holder I bought attached to my car. Obviously, I tried it on my other channel once recently, and the battery power didn't last, or the whatever didn't last that long. But somebody said that I was too far away from the camera to judge something. So how does this look? What do you like about it in terms of camera angle, lighting, and so forth? What do you like about it? Are there techniques that you can suggest? All right, so I'm going to start up the car and I'm going to just chat. Oh, turn off the radio so that I can't get copyright stricken. And the term would be copyright stricken, not copyrighted. That's copyrighted is when you copyright a song. No. Copyright stricken is the proper way of putting it. Okay, all right. Sorry if you got a little dizzy there. The camera fell off the dashboard. That's something that bothers me. I'm really gonna have to figure out how to fix that. But look at my old house there that I moved away from. So I'm going to take a walk in the park, and I'm going to take this iPhone with me. Now, as I mentioned in my other channel, I'm walking so that I can get better exercise and trim my waistline and just generally get into better health. I had been at about 205 pounds around, well, a few years back, and I don't know what my weight is now. I'd love to have a scale, like a home scale. Not afraid of a scale, but I don't have access to one right now. So I'm just going to presume I need more exercise. I need to keep going and cut the sugar and so forth. Drink more water. So what I plan to do is make a chart, a graph of make a chart of each day of the week, and then Saturday is good because it's the end of the week. Sunday, today being the first day of the week, typically, I can just count off for each day how many, or mark down how many times I had drunk an entire 64-ounce water bottle. That's one. Two, taken a walk in the park for a certain length of time or a certain distance, and I'm going to mark the time that I left and started my walk. And then I'm going to take my iPhone with me. That's a good idea. I'm going to take my iPhone with me. I'm going to just record. I'm starting it at this time, and I'm going to keep on walking at a steady pace, and then reach a certain point, and then a common typical point. I'm going to always use that point, and then I'm going to mark the time I reached it, and then mark the time I come back. Well, it would be, I guess, the same, just count it twice. So the walking distance and also calories, I'm going to try to remember to put in how many calories per day I consume. So, all right, so I'm going to get out of my car soon. See you then. All right, here I am. It's 11:56. I'm going to keep walking, and I'll talk with you again when I reach the other end. It's now 12:16. I've stopped. I can't really describe what I'm seeing, but I've walked around the first curve in the pathway. Whoop. In the pathway, and I'm at that marker there. So I'm going to start my way back now. It's 12:37, and I've returned to the starting spot. I don't know how long in terms of mileage I walked, but I have my time now, and I can refer back to this. I'm going to find out. I have a watch that I can be able to find out. It keeps track, hopefully, of footsteps. Anyway, I want to talk about an idea I had sparked by a comment on my previous video about followers. Followers is in the title, but it wasn't necessarily about that. The comment was about my interest in the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. And so I'm going to use the comment to encourage myself to. I've explained this before in other videos, but when I do these videos, they're very complex topics, and I have there's so many topics I want to cover in videos, but I don't have the technology, the elaborate technology, and it takes a long time to be able to do. So I wish I could link, maybe I will link that video where the Mel Klein made. Sorry about that. I have high hopes. I really want the my iPhone to be able to record these things, so I can record these thoughts I have while I'm walking more immediately. But I don't know. What happened was, as I was talking, it said something like full storage. It reached its limit in terms of storage, so that popped up on the screen. So I'm gonna have to work that out, but at least I'm able to take it out and take it walking with me, so forth. So I want to get back to what I was talking about. This is an intellectual interest of mine, Mel Klein's book layout proposal. I've read through all of it. From what I remember, well, all right, let me describe why it's interesting to me. I had been familiar with the Torah, including the Hebrew text. I'm not conversational in Hebrew, but I can read through. I have a good English translation. I've taken 2 courses in Hebrew, blah, 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 blah. I've studied the Hebrew language. And I've noticed, I've studied some Kabbalah, and one thing I was curious about was whether Kabbalah predated the writing of the Torah, meaning the 5 books of Moses, or whether it came afterwards, because sometimes in Kabbalah the texts interpret things in the Torah text, and I don't know whether the interpretation was developed afterwards, or whether it was developed closer to the time that the Torah was written, and which came before or after, and was the Torah written after the earliest writings that we have of Kabbalah. Now, the question of when the Torah was written itself is in question. I have been persuaded somewhat with Russell Gamirkin's idea that it was written in, I think it was 271 or 272 BCE, and there's a whole history and explanation, and that it was inspired by the ideas of Plato, which also intrigued me. And I know that there are relationships in ancient times that developed between Greece and Israel. So I could see that, and I could see, from my knowledge of Plato, I can see in the Torah text and in Kabbalah elements that resemble the stuff that Plato was talking about. So that continues to intrigue. That continued to intrigue me. And then in addition to that, I came across Mel Klein's interesting concept, and he lays it out in this full book with diagrams and so forth. And he actually gives the Hebrew text, and I can read Hebrew, and I know exactly. I'm not necessarily relying on his credentials or whatever. I'm seeing the evidence right in front of me. So it dismays me that most people aren't aware of this. So as I said before, just a moment ago, in this video, I wish I had more technology and more time to be able to develop a full-scale documentary. I talked about these things before, but what I'd like to do is write an essay so that I can word these complex topics well. As you can tell, I say ahs a lot. The only drawback, the only compensation, I mean, the only drawback I would have would be that I would be reading from a piece of paper. But I think that's a small price to pay to be able to explain it well and clearly, which is itself in itself tricky because it's very visual. The evidence is very visual, and people having short attention spans, I don't know how long they'll sit and listen to this, but it's well worth it. One point I have is that it backs up my suspicion from having read the Torah text itself, that there's something underneath the surface text, and that's what Judaism has basically said, that there are four levels of interpretation, and this is one of the deeper interpretation levels. And there's I can't remember exactly where, but there was a warning around the time, I think, when the Septuagint was written, if I remember correctly, that when there's a warning that it's one of the worst things that could happen when you translate the Torah text or sacred text into a foreign language. You, first of all, lose the relationship you have with the mentor-mentee relationship, but also you lose, in this case, you lose the actual Hebrew wording. And for those who don't see the actual Hebrew wording, it's virtually lost in translation. You don't see a lot of the evidence, and a lot of times the evidence could even be there, but you don't even notice it because you've been trained and conditioned in other interpretations. You don't see it right in front of you. So why is it so important that Mel Klein's work so important? Well, it shows what the writer, I'll just say, for the sake of this, I'll just say writer, the writer believed, and what his or her mindset was when writing this. Because on the surface level, you have a deity that occasionally commands, like the Canaanites, to be killed, and wipes out civilization with a flood, and so forth. I'm not taking that literally. I'm taking that as symbolism, not well, sometimes as allegory, but I'm taking it as there's a deeper. If you see the patterns, there is a deeper meaning. For example, there's one thing that struck me in his book, that when you see the diagram, you have the book of Leviticus. When you see it pictorially, you see two matrices, and by matrix I mean you have it's an arrangement of rows and units in rows and columns. You have two of them, and well, I won't go into details about it, but two of them, and then there is. I'm wondering if I'm thinking of the same. No, I think I'm thinking of a different book. Anyway, no, it's got to be Numbers, I think. There is the Holy of Holies, like pictorially, it seems to depict the Holy of Holies here, and then you have a curtain. I mean, when Yud-Heh Vav-Heh describes precisely how the tabernacle should be created, he specifies that there would be a curtain. Trying not to mix this up with the Solomon's. I'm sure I'm not. Solomon's temple is different. The tabernacle. Solomon's temple came after the 5 books of Moses. You have the Holy of Holies, then you have the curtain, and then you have a table with showbread, and the point at which in the text it has two men, I can't remember their names, but two, I think they were sons of Aaron, or two Levites, I think, touching the ark, and then they are killed. I don't necessarily interpret that to mean that the deity killed them.
If I remember correctly, in the text, it just simply says that they were killed when they touched it. Um, and there's a warning, don't touch the ark. That story happens to, as I recall, in the pictorial layout, that unit, that story, happens to be right where the curtain is between the Holy of Holies and the rest of the that tent of meeting. So I found that interesting. So I want to understand the mindset of the person writing the Torah text, because I don't think when it was depicting the deity telling them to kill the Canaanites and so forth, which would have happened centuries earlier if Russell Gumerican is correct. Um, there's some underlying meaning behind all of this. Um, the philosophy is what fascinates me. That first of all, you have a deity that would be split into um, two personalities or two functions. You have Yud He Vav He, and you have Elohim, and Elohim representing the mundane earth, the physical plane, and you have Yud He Vav He representing, or being in the heavens, representing the someone concerned about the mind and heart of the Adam and his descendants. Um, it's sort of a more mental thing or spiritual thing, and then you have the more earthly, physical thing, and the two relating, and then you have an intermediary spot, and that framework um, appears, according to this book, the proposal of Mel Klein, that intermediary period, and the idea of columns and rows appears in the Ten Commandments, appears in the first chapter of Avot um, in the Talmud, and I think a few other places. It's there, and also the plagues. The idea of framing it like this appears in the plagues and in Genesis, the Genesis creation, and that the plagues are reverse of Genesis. It's just fascinating why it's constructed the way it is. So, all right, I could belabor this. I've already talked quite a bit, but I wish I could convey. First of all, I wish I could convey that there's more to this than just an angry God, vengeful God or whatever. There's more philosophy. There's more intricacy. There's more substantial intricacies. There are more intricacies in this, and I want to convey that, and I also want to understand myself, the mindset of the writer. Um, Russell Gumerican suggested that perhaps it was written by Babylonian writers. I thought it's ironic that if Russell Gumerican is correct that the Torah itself was inspired by Plato, or well, inspired by Plato's ideas. Not that he wrote it, but that it was inspired by his ideas. Um, I doubt many people are even aware of that. Now, if that's true, I've noticed some similarities. I can see resemblance. So I'm going to take that further. I'm just going to simply write a long essay, and I'm going to read it off. I wish I had better technology. I have here. Here we go. This has been sitting on my table for like months, but it's a thing that where you would put your iPhone or whatever in here, and it would display up here. It would have a nice display, but I haven't been able to get it working, or I have, for something or other, for some reason, I don't have the right tools to be able to set it up. But I at least wanted to show it to you. I've had it there. I wish I had better technology. And I guess better time. Anyway, I'll talk with you soon. So long.